Welcome, this is Jonathan Kay from SimsUshare. This is the Wet User Group webinar for September. We're really excited because we have the next version of SimsUshare coming out October 1st, and little spoiler alert, it's actually already out, so I'll tell you about that a little later. But the official word will go out October 1st, and at that time in the program you'll see an update that'll say there's a new version available. So, but the reality here is that it's already available for download. I'll show you how you do that because I know there's a lot of really interesting changes. I hope you'll really enjoy. Now, our team, Steve Ward, Danielle Spivak, other people are not going to make it today. In this session, we had a session at 8:30 this morning, go over the same stuff. This session is going to be recorded, and it is being recorded, and that will be available on our webinar archive page off of SimsUshare either this evening or by tomorrow. Well, before I want to start talking about SimsUshare, I wanted to give you the 30,000-foot view. What really is the focus that is driving us on the SimsUshare team? We sort of see it as a three-part. There's the technical. How are we going to add value to SimsUshare? So how are we going to add features, effects, without adding complexity? We're really, really sensitive about not making the program more complicated because we really need to keep it approachable by people who don't have a lot of time to learn all the ins and outs of it, but also make it sophisticated enough and feature rich enough so it's useful in a wide variety of circumstances, whether that's structural firefighting or HazMat or industrial or EMS. We've also been working on active threat and industrial safety, WMDs, all this kind of stuff beyond actually just structural firefighting. But really in terms of content, that's the second part. We have the technology, but the technology is only as good if you actually have content that you're using, that you're expressing with the technology. So we kind of boil it down to say, you got a simulation program, SimsUshare, but do you have a simulation training program? And what we mean by that is, what's your vision for using simulations in training? So just having a tool is important, but we also want to help you develop your training program, your vision, make it easier for you to integrate simulations so that you really get the maximum effectiveness for what you're paying. Then of course the third part is in terms of our support and service. We really want to figure out, we want to listen to you. How do we help you maximize the value from SimsUshare? So things like the webinars, things like the phone calls, we've done surveys. We're actually also going to release a couple new things I'll suggest at the end about helping to really support and service your use of SimsUshare. So in a nutshell, the SimsUshare version 2.8.6 is coming out October 1st, so just next week. And here's a couple of the things you're going to see, and I'm going to show you a live preview of it once we kind of just review the main enhancements. First off, you'll see here preview graphics and effects. This is one of the really the most requested items. Right now, where you have all fire, smoke, containers, you used to have just words, but now we've also put a little icon, little thumbnail of the actual effect in there. So that's going to really help you understand what kind of effects you're choosing to use in your simulations. The second really big thing in SimsUshare is the widescreen format. And so up into this moment, I'll go on to the next page over here. You'll see SimsUshare has been at what we call the 4:3 aspect ratio. So it's been on things like iPads, or just has this, what used to be the standard aspect ratio. And now with the new SimsUshare, you'll notice when you'll actually open it up, it comes out much flatter and wider. And now you can actually integrate these 16:9 widescreen format. The key thing here is going to be that you'll get full screen playback without the black bars. Right now we're editing, so that's why you have the black bars. But what you'll see here is when you actually play your simulations on a widescreen, it'll go edge to edge. So that's really going to, again, make it a bit more immersive. And you can obviously get rid of the menus there as well. You won't get the black bars if you now incorporate widescreen, if you make your simulation widescreen. Now, what you'll have to do to make it widescreen is make sure that you include the widescreen photo at the beginning. So when you create your simulation, it uses the first picture that you choose to get the dimensions of the simulation. And so if you decide you start your simulation with a narrower photo, it's going to use those narrower dimensions to set the size. So when you make a widescreen simulation, you want to make at least your first picture widescreen, and that way it'll set the dimensions for the simulation. We're going to see this by a live example in a moment. Now, many people know as you're creating more locations or slides, to get to the slides, you have to go to the location menu and you scroll down to get to the bottom. It's fine. It's fine for when you have a couple locations. But it becomes more of a pain when you want to go to a new location quickly and edit that location. Let's say you've got A, B, C, and D. If you only have A, B, C, and D, it's easy enough to just scroll and click whichever one you want to edit. But now, if you had, let's say, 8 slides or 10 slides or locations or 20 or 30, you can spend a lot of time just flipping between your locations. And now what I'll show you is we added a special feature, edit next location and edit previous location. And this is also accessible by a keystroke. And so what you do is you hit the keystroke and then it'll edit the next slide or edit the previous one. And that'll save a lot of time in having to navigate around your simulation. Another important change we have, people have asked for, can I see timing all in one list? You know that when you make your timing, you actually add the timing to individual elements, like the smoke comes in 5 seconds or 6 seconds and disappears at 10 seconds or delayed over 3 seconds. Now what'll happen, you'll see we have a thing where you can choose show the location timeline, and all your timing will show up like here. You see this says timeline for alpha, so it's on a per location basis. And what happens, it'll show you your timing relative to start a simulation. So at 2.9 seconds, you see the arrow to the right says the gray turbulent comes in, and over 4.2 seconds. So that means it starts appearing at 3 seconds and then fades in over another 4 seconds. So at 7 seconds, essentially, the 7.1 seconds, the effect is fully in. You'll see the arrow going the right-facing arrow means that it's fading in. The left-facing arrow means that it's fading out. So here, basic fire fades in at 5 seconds and starts fading out at 25.3 seconds. This gives you an overall sense. It looks at all your timing for that location to make sure that you're all set. And if you need to change your timing, you can then go back into the effect and change it. Now, also another thing that in terms of timing, which had always been an issue, is the fade in and fade out. And we're going to see how we've collapsed it so you don't have to do as much clicking to get the fade in and fade out setting changes. So we're going to go on. I'm going to see now, do we have any comments or do we have any questions before? I'm going to look at the chat window. I'll pause for just about 30 seconds if anyone wants to type some kind of chat message. Any questions before I go into the actual demonstration? I seem to have also chosen sort of a rush hour time here at the coffee shop. Hopefully the audio is still pretty good. All the stuff going on around me, testing my nerves. So I don't see any questions at this point, so I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to go down here, and there's SimsUshare. So see now SimsUshare is kind of flatter and longer. I'm right now on a laptop with a widescreen, like most computers nowadays. So the first step, what I'm going to do, so there's the widescreen format. So as I mentioned, if we now go and do play, I'm going to go here and hit play, and then I hit this, like here's one with a widescreen photo. You'll see it's edge to edge. If I now actually go to, if I go full screen with this, whether I use, let's say I'll go full screen, just maximum size screen, but it still has that ornament, I can go down to the bottom here and say full screen. And now you see there it's edge to edge. I'm going to just hide the menu there so it goes completely. So that's going to be really nice. And again, all the widescreen photos, that one is obviously not widescreen, but they will go edge to edge. So you can certainly still use non-widescreen photos. That's fine. They will work exactly the same. And all your simulations you made will work the same. But if you did have these special wider format photos, now you can actually go completely full screen on your monitors. So let me now go back over here, and let's now take a look at editing a simulation. So I'm going to go back over here, and let's start. I'm going to edit. And let's say we want to create. I'll show you. Let me actually go, and I'll go back, and I'll say new, and I'll put in. Let's say I'm going to go here and make my. I'm going to say I'm going to make that motel again, or that hotel. So I go here, choose my picture, Let's say I choose that alpha picture. And now here I am editing. So the nice thing also at widescreen is it gives us a little more room if you have non-widescreen pictures. So it just gives you some more space here to see. Now if I'm gonna go here, let's say I'm gonna put in some smoke, I'll go all smoke. Now notice over here, we now have the little preview tokens. So angry thin, auto ignition, distant, turbulent, everything has, you'll see has a little people, labels, all have little previews. So that's gonna be really nice to be able to help you see all the different smoke and fire before you actually have to place them or have to memorize them. So let me go and put some smoke in. I'm gonna say I've got some turbulent smoke. I'm gonna click, drag, and then bring it so that I can still do the same stuff over here. Let's say I'm gonna make this smoke appear though at 5 seconds coming in. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna say delay timing. Now notice here, if you're really careful, you would have known that before it said fade in when, fade in duration. When is when it starts coming in, and duration is how long it takes once it's come in to fully fully come in. So for example, now we've collapsed them into a single area. So fade in settings, when I click on it, notice now it says fade in when and fade in duration. So if I went and now say fade in after 3 seconds, you'll see here, but they're both together. 2, 1, and you'll see in a moment, they're popped in. That's fade in when. But now when I'm here, I can go and also set in, I go delay timing, fade in settings, and now I can say fade in duration. This is how long, after 3 seconds, how long should it take to come in? So I'm gonna say this is gonna come in over 5 seconds, and I can always type here the number that I want. So it means that it's gonna fully come in after 8 seconds. It's gonna start appearing at 3 seconds. So now when I hit okay, you'll see here 3, 2, 1, we start slowing in, 4, 3. So the key thing here is that the fade in now, you set it on a single panel instead of having to jump back and forth. That's gonna be a real time saver. And now similarly, when I want to fade something out, if I go and click on the item and I go here and say delay timing, I used to have to click on fade out and it would then have to return into this menu. Now we've made it so if you just click fade out, now fade out settings are available right here, which is the same fade out when and fade out duration. So it's much easier. You don't have to come back into this menu to do that. That makes it much easier to set your timing. Now, let's take a look at, if I look at the location menu, notice here, manage locations, I only have a single location. If I go and say, let's say, I'm gonna go back here and look at this residential one, there's only a single location in that previous, but here I've got 6 locations. So if I wanna switch to edit the different sides, I just click on whichever side I want. Bravo, Charlie. But now, I'm gonna be talking about that keystroke, that shortcut to be able to edit to the next location. Right now, you're not seeing it here. We only show it after 10 slides. So after you have 10 locations. Because we figure out fewer than 10, it's not such a big deal. But there's also a keystroke shortcut, and I'll sort of reveal that in a moment. If I look at a simulation, let's say like this high-rise one, which has, I think, about 50 or 60 locations, maybe more. If I go here now, you'll notice when we get to be more locations, 2 things happen. First, it gives us a number. This is what location number in the sequence, number 1, 2, 3, whatever. And now you'll notice also, now it's actually added in edit next and edit previous with control right arrow or control left arrow. So if I click on edit next, now it's editing number 2. And I can keep doing that if I want, but that also becomes kind of a pain. So it says there control right arrow. On my keyboard, I hit the control key, and this is Mac and Windows. I hit, Mac also has the command key if you want to use command right arrow. I hit control and then right arrow, and now as you see, editing 4, you see up over there, editing 4, editing 5, 6. So control right arrow edits the next one. Control left arrow goes back. That's going to be a real time saver in actually making your simulations, because you'll be able to see what the title is for the location, but now you'll easily be able to go and edit whichever one you want, go do your stuff, edit the next one. Also, it's much easier to kind of flip through the locations, and you can sort of get a visual sense of what they are. Here's sort of my CD. You'll see once I go through there, CD at one point. That's a lot of CDs there. Let's see, so I'm going over there. So if I go, There's that. So let's see. So if I go over here and say, there's my CDs, I'm editing CD, editing CD. So there's a lot of interesting things that are going to happen over there. And I can do the same thing in terms of preview. So if I go Control right arrow and I go back, it will then go back to the previous. It wraps around to the end. So if you noticed over there, this is my last slide, and then this is my first slide. So Control right arrow is really a big thing. Another thing which we have in here is we've added shortcuts for copy and paste. Right now, there's always been this over here, this menu is a copy effect. You can do that and then paste effect, but now instead of hitting copy effect, I can click on this, and now I can use, instead of going to the menu and hitting copy effect, I can hit Control-C. And I get a message there, copied to clipboard. And when I'm done with that, I hit done. And now I can go and I can use the Control-V, and you'll see in a moment, there's the Control-V. It does paste. So Control-C and Control-V is working to copy and paste. And of course, you can copy and paste across different simulations as well. So I don't have to be in, I could go back over to, I don't know, this Myrtle one. And if I hit Control-V for paste, there's the effect that comes in. So those are a number of things. The last thing that I want to show is the location timing. Let's go over to something like the welcome sim. This has been in SimsUshare since the beginning. As we see over here, when I hit play, after like 1 or 2 seconds, we get an explosion, and then it fades in. But now you have to go into individual effects to be able to see what time they're set at, which is kind of a pain when you have a lot of things coming in. So what we've done is we now have here, for this location, for each location, you go to the menu and say show location timing. And what it'll show is here, timeline for initial location. So it's not the whole scenario, it's just the current location. But you see here, timing relative, at 3.6 seconds, the explosion happens. At 4 seconds, basic fire starts to come in over the next 0.7 seconds. And at 4 seconds, also gray turbulent 1 comes in over the next second. So we don't have any fade outs over here. These are all coming in. But notice beneath here, if I click and drag, there's another section, timing begins each time one enters this location. If you remember, the times can either start at the start of the simulation, or they can start when you enter the location. So this gives you a chronological ordering of the effects. It sorts them by basically the start, earliest to later. And so that way you can see all your timing for the location just in one view. And if you need to go and change like text or change the turbulent, you can then go and find that and change it in the regular way. Looks like Chad has a question. Are these available using mobile phone? They are, but it's not out yet. Those require approval. I think Android should be done by the end of this week. iPhone, iPad, that requires Apple's approval, so that has to be submitted. I expect that'll be within about the next week or two. Well, that brings us really to the end of, now here's sort of the sneak, well, I said this is a sneak peek of SimsUshare, but the little secret is that it is available now for Windows and Mac, and iOS and Android should be available shortly. What you do is just download the free Sim Viewer from SimsUshare.com, and just install the newer version over what you have, and you'll get all these new features, and all your simulations are 100% backward compatible. So don't have to worry about losing anything or anything there. Now, iOS and Android, you don't want to reinstall. They have update mechanisms in the App Store and Google Play. So just follow that for updating when you get a notice that the updates are available. As I say, it should be between about a week and 2 weeks for iOS, and Android should be within the next week. A couple things that you made it this far. I want to show you some of the new stuff that's coming out. First of all, we continue behind the scenes to improve CTC functionality. People who are not aware, the CTC is our command training center, which allows for remote control of computers to do multi-company exercises, or even if you're in the same room, you don't have to reach over to someone over their shoulder onto the laptop to control. You can control a screen remotely. It's all done on the internet, so you don't have to worry about getting IT to approve. Then starting October 1st, we're coming out with a newsletter. you'll be seeing that. We're sending that all to current subscribers and mobile registrants. We're doing our monthly webinars. For example, next month, we're going to be talking about, coincidentally, how creating your simulation training program. So this is going to be more about ideas for how to integrate simulations into your training. And we have some more features and surprises in store January 1st to make your job of creating simulations easier, both in terms of technical improvements and content. Well, appreciate your time here, and thank you for your participation. I'm going to keep the chat window open here so I can see if anyone has any questions. It looks like we just hit about 20 minutes. I appreciate it. Hopefully the audio is coming clearly here. I seem to really have picked the right place for doing this when my internet in the office decided to take a little vacation. But I guess we all have gone through that nature of the business. Thank you again. Appreciate you being customers. Please, we're always interested in hearing how we can help you. So at this point, I'm going to be looking at the chat window there to see if anyone has any questions. I'll stay on the line for another few minutes. While anyone has any questions, happy to answer anything about this or any other topic. And I'll repeat as well, we're going to be, we are recording this session, and so I will be posting the video later today.